Hi, welcome. Today we're looking at a miracle from the book of Mark, chapter 8. Jesus cures a man at Bethsaida. So we will look at the fulfillment of this miracle. The way of man is we want to make the house, we make the design of the house. Then we build the house according to that design. When the house is completed, it becomes the fulfillment. The way of God is also the design and the fulfillment. Jesus has given us this miracle as a design, and we will look at the fulfillment. So first, we are going to read it. And they came to Bethsaida, and some people brought to Jesus a blind man and begged him to touch him. And Jesus took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. And when he had spit on his eyes and laid his hands upon him, he asked him, "Do you see anything?" And he looked up and said, "I see men, but they look like trees walking." Then again he laid his hands upon his eyes, and he looked intently and was restored, and saw everything clearly. And he sent him away to his home, saying, "Do not even enter the village." Again, we praise Jesus for this miracle that the blind man can see. So he is physically blind, and then he has a physical sight, was healed, was a miracle, and performed by Jesus. Now Jesus intentionally performs all kind and all type of miracle, healing physical ailments for various type of physical ailments, because Jesus intentionally did that as a design. The fulfillment from the moment of Jesus' resurrection to the end of time, Jesus healed all type of spiritual ailments. Something wrong with our spiritual bodies, Jesus healed, and not for one generation, not for one person, for all people, all generation, for everybody, from the moment of his resurrection to the end of time, for all generation, all nation, all people. And that great healing is the fulfillment, healing. And Jesus is the chief of healer. And that's why in the Bible we have so many miracles. But today we look at physical blindness. And this man was healed in two separate instances. So first he can see, but not total completeness of sight. Then Jesus laid his hand again upon his eyes, and then he was healed again. So it's like two levels. One level, another level. So what is a spiritual blindness? The spiritual blindness means we don't have faith. We don't see anything in the spiritual kingdom. Mean we don't believe that there is God. So first, let's look at physically first. So I have physical sight, right? I'm looking right now out of my window. I see Wollongong Hospital. I see palm trees. I see some other trees. I see a building and a house, the neighbor. So immediately I see that. Now let's say I go to visit Sydney, and I see beautiful side of Sydney, the most popular, the Opera House and the bridge. Now let's say I have some more money, I go and I visit Philippines, I see the beautiful side of Philippines and feasted my eyes with that, and I see physically and I enjoy the beauty of that. Then again, I have some more money, I go and visit Greece, and I see the beautiful popular side of Greece, Santorini. Then again, I have some more money, I go and visit Kenya in Africa, and I see the beautiful side of that. And again, I have some more money, I go traveling again, and I see America. I see the New York, the beautiful image there, and the beautiful scenery there. So my eyes are feasted on physical side, physical beauty, beautiful scenery of our physical world. Now that is physical, and we can travel and we can see different side, different things when we have physical side. Now with spiritual side, first is the basic, which is like what you see immediately. Like me, I see the Wollongong Hospital. So physical side is you believe that there is God. There is God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity. Then that is immediately what we see. We see there's heaven, there's hell, and we see that heaven, God dwell there, and we long to go there, to live there forever. And hell, where people who rejected God totally go there. That's our immediate spiritual side. Let us now travel. So spiritually, we can travel in the Bible. First, we may stop at the prodigal son, and we read it, and we come to understand it, that God the Father is very merciful and longing for his lost children to return to him. So then we understand that concept, and then, from that prodigal son, we learn to see spiritually and understand something about God. And it's part of the spiritual world. Now we travel again spiritually, and we come to the parable of the fish net, and we come to see spiritually that God select the good one, the good human, to keep it forever in heaven. God throw away the bad one, just like the man throw away the bad fish, keep the good fish. And that is, we can see again, spiritually with that parable. Now let's say we come to the teaching of Jesus about forgiveness, that God the Father forgives us because we are imperfect, and we ourselves are asked to do the same, to forgive others. Now if we can see and understand that, we see spiritually, and we see that aspect of the spiritual world, that there is required us to forgive, and God the Father always forgive us when we forgive others. Now let we travel spiritually to the miracle of Jesus heal a mute. And from this, we can see spiritually that there are many people who are spiritually mute, meaning they cannot talk to God, they don't know how to talk to God. And Jesus heals in great number, so that people can pray to God, people can talk to God, people know how to talk to God, to communicate with God. But God is spirit. So how do we communicate with God? Right? So the Bible tells us, Romans chapter 8 verse 26. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with signs too deep for words. So in the fulfillment time, that is from the moment of Jesus' resurrection to the end of time, for all people, all nations, all generations, the gift of being able to speak spiritually is the Spirit intercede for us with signs too deep for words. That's how we are meant to talk to God. That's how we are meant to speak to God, because God is Spirit. And so if we don't have that, we also can know and understand that we can get that healing from Jesus. We can ask Jesus to heal us. And that is seeing spiritually. Now lastly, let me come traveling again, spiritually traveling to the transfiguration, where Jesus was dazzling white, beautifully white everywhere. You know, his head, his body, dazzling, beautiful white. Now, that white is the glory of the sun. That white is the glory of God. So we can understand and see that Jesus is totally God, completely powerful, and His glory, the glory of God is with Him. He is the Son of God. If we can see that, we see spiritually, and we can grasp what it is, that who is Christ. You know, Christ in Revelation said He has 7 eyes and 7 horns. Now 7 eyes just means complete vision. Jesus can see everything, spiritually, physically, He can see everything. So Jesus had complete glory of God with Him, and we are meant to be co-heirs with Christ. So we are meant to receive that dazzling white described in the Bible. We're meant to have a little bit of it. Each of us, you know, most of us don't have it, but we are meant to be co-heirs. We're meant to get it. We're meant to have it. And if we have a little bit of it, we have a spiritual side. Because why? Jesus had seven complete in God's kingdom. What it means, completeness. So if Jesus gives you a tiny little bit of that dazzling white, of that beautiful spirit, and just a tiny bit of it, you get spiritual side directly. You can see something in the spiritual kingdom directly. Now, so far we've been talking about spiritual side that is sort of indirectly, you know, with the prodigal, the mute, the fish, and forgiveness. That is, you know, we can see, but indirectly. Now, Jesus can give us direct side as well, spiritual side, with the parable, with the transfiguration. If you understand it, you ask for it, you know, everybody has a possibility of getting it, because we are co-heirs. You know, the reason we don't have it is because maybe we think we get the Bible to the full, we understand it to the full, and we are doing it to the full. We think that. What matter is God think that or not. So if God think you are fullness of the Bible and doing everything perfectly, the chance of getting that dazzling white spirit is very high. But let's just say you are partial and you think you are full. You are partial, then God cannot give you that. It's very precious. That dazzling white spirit is the glory of God, very precious. God doesn't give it out easily. So if we think that if we are partial, obviously our chance of getting it is less. But if we are full, our chance of getting it is really high. So what matters is not what you think you are full or partial, what God thinks you are full or partial. And then, you know, if you get that spiritual side directly, it's the fulfillment of this miracle. You get the side. And Now let's just say we read the Bible and we travel spiritually. We come to the prodigal, we come to the fishnet, we come to the meat, we come to the forgiveness, and we understand and we see spiritually a level. But in this parable, in this miracle, Jesus actually healed in 2 levels. So maybe first we get it at this level. After years of reading the Bible and visit these, miracles and sight again, we may come to understand it another level, because Jesus gives us, Jesus heals us, so we understand it more completely, because we are human, just imperfect. That's what we are. For the same, every generation, everyone same, me too, So I spend a lot of time reading the Bible, reading especially the 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because these books are written of what coming out of the mouth of Jesus. And we know from Revelation, out of Jesus' mouth issued a sharp two-edged sword. So it's important that we understand it and we obey it to the full level. And so first and foremost is to read it. So I spend a lot of time reading, days in, day out, year in, year out, read. And if God gives us the spiritual side to understand it fully, we will get it. And reading the Bible, reading what Jesus said, is like a very important aspect of spirituality. And reading it just means like a prayer, it has very powerful effect. It's just like you just read it. And so I spend a lot of time and more concentrating on these 4 books, because elsewhere in the Bible it's not as important, because the 4 books are the fulfillment. And what it is God the Father give it to us, speaking to us indirectly through Jesus Christ, because whatever Jesus spoke in parables was given from God the Father. And so that's what God the Father wants us to have, and we must read it and read it again and read it again to get the total spiritual side, because whatever else is written after the 4 books, usually like John, the letter of John, Galatians, Romans, Corinthians, all those books are letters and written by human beings and written with a purpose. They are leader writing to the audience with a purpose. For example, if Paul were to write, his audience was just exactly like him. He is an evangelizer. He was practicing doing physical means and thinking they were saved by that, like washing of hands. So his audience doing exactly like him. He used to do all that perfectly and very particularly, But he said, no, you are saved by faith and not by works. Those type of physical works are useless. They are not saving you. So then his writing is that. Then you got the letter of James saying you're not saved by faith only, you're saved by works, because his audience is probably, people who are already believe in God or being brought into the faith by, from babies, and maybe they are lazy, they don't want to do charity work. So for his audience he has to write that. So human letters cannot be compared with what Jesus spoke in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so concentrating reading these, you get more, and you get healing, you get the fulfillment of this miracle, you get understanding more, you travel spiritually, and you go to every single verse of the 4 books, you go to every single passages of the 4 books, and you get more and more and more, you see more and more and more. So that's what these fulfillment of this miracle is to get direct sight from God by the glory of the Son that Jesus had, the dazzling white Spirit of God, the glory of God, or to understand the Bible, to understand, to know what the Bible teaching us in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So thank you for joining me today.